So, can you just state who you are, please?
I'm a human being, or at least having a human experience. My name is Luke Burnsright.
Okay, and why the name Luke Burnsright?
It was at the time when I was writing my poetry book, which is called Methods of Perfection, and my stage name for the solo act was Bad Replica of Jesus, and that didn't sound much like a name, and I wanted to have more of a pen name, and, well, I'm originally Luke, so...
You want to sound more
And I
catchy.
had that kind of like epiphany moment while channeling a poem and looking through a window and just feeling all autumn-like, poetic. And I just looked at the cigarette and I was like, well, I'll be fine as long as it burns right. And then, that just clicked and I was like... And I Googled Luke Burnsright just to see if there's anyone. And the only thing that came up was Luke's Gospel, which starts Luke burns right through over a domesticated image of God, or at least it has a few sentences like that here and there. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I like the catch behind it. So now I'm trying to dominate Google and push away the Luke's Gospel. No, that's more of a joke, but yeah. The contradiction within the name already made me feel good, and the fire aspect within my life has been strong with the passion.
That's a good idea. Why not take over?
Yeah.
Just dominate Google. Why not? Since Luke comes in, Luke Burnsright.
Dominate yourself, dominate your own life rather than...
So, like, how would you describe your specific style of music?
Alternative, progressive, like an overall format, but I have a lot of elements of acoustic, bluesy, jazzy influences and singer-songwriter, way of doing things when I'm a solo artist.
So when you think of jazz, do you have any influences that like you could think of, like, yeah, I remember listening to this person, they influenced my style of music today?
Funny enough, like most of the times Herbie Hancock comes to my mind when I think of jazz, because I also happened to play with him once in a jam session back in Lithuania in the jazz festival. And I didn't even know that I was playing with him until I got off stage, and I was like, someone told me, it's like, oh, yeah, you actually were jamming with Herbie Hancock. And I was like, wow, that's cool. It's like with jazz cats, you never feel the ego taking over the stage. They just walk on stage and do the music. So I did like the kind of detached attitude of the jazz musicians that, they always learn and progress and push the envelope. But now electronics and synths are entering my music a lot. So I'm taking everything that's arcane and organic as voice and string vibration and mixing it with synths and grooves and beats and glitches. And so, like I said, I'm kind of approach as a producer quite often.
Okay.
Because I spend a lot of time recording, various things. So
a man of many talents then.
Well, allowing them to, flow freely.
Yeah. That's the only way, really. So, in your style of music, what kind of themes do you feel like you explore?
I suppose it's always, in terms of lyrically, it's always psychology. It's, it's all the influences that we pick up, but it's, it's always how do we internalize the issues, the values, the methods to, go about life, how to feel one's way around. And I don't touch much bases with politics, and I don't look at this territorial pissing side of things. I'm more about the internal government of one's self, which, if I find something that resonates within me in my meditative state or in the joy state or in the state of, infinite bliss or sex or music, anything, that I can feel is truth and that relates to most of the people, rather than picking up, news cutouts and trying to please the, the common mind. So I'd rather do my best to shift, the perception and expand philosophy.
So it sounds like you kind of want a personal connection with people that listen to your music, isn't it?
It's a very good point, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about connecting.
So when we think of like Luke Burnsright, the artist, what kind of makes your music a bit different to other people's?
Well, the fact that I'm the only of me, there's no other me. I suppose that's like a good place to start.
Yeah.
And I don't spend much time judging or kind of criticizing to the point other musicians that I would like identify myself with the opposite of what I see in others. But at the same time, like I do take on board all the pop influences as well, and I like the music to be catchy. But quite often in the in the high level of industry or famous music, the lyrical content becomes controlled, and
Yeah.
so I don't want that to happen. And I do like the poetic kind of female energy, mental, psychedelic lyricism around it.
So, like, would you say that you're not really looking for like a major record label? You just prefer to stay like free, independent, or is that? In
I'm
your
kind of
plans?
open. I'm open for everything. Like,
Okay.
some indie labels can maybe, in some situations offer me more than, and vice versa, than the big one, or you never know. But it's kind of like, it still depends on people who work within the big label or small label.
Yeah.
You have amazing people, in each corner of this industry. So I'm up for meeting the real people that would love to work with me as producers or engineers or whatever, to express themselves and see that I'm open for their work as well, as much as they're open for my ideas, rather than that they come with little like notes that they're prepared what they want from the artist.
Okay.
I think there's younger musicians that still have no vision, so maybe they should join that.
So it's like you're open, but you want to still be able to express yourself.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, definitely. Like,
yeah.
if it's a big label, it has to be, with a big heart.
Yeah.
Probably most likely big wallet as well, because that's just inevitable.
Yeah.
But the beauty of this age we live in with internet is that everyone with the right amount of work and the right amount of discipline can be their own promoter to a certain level and be their own kind of initiatory, is that the right way to say it? Yeah, I suppose. Like,
you can just make a word.
yeah, well, let's make up a word, like, but I think that's a word anyway. Like, could be that big bang in its own, and then attract other people that seek joy within their industry, and then go from there as a team, rather than, there's a big guy with a suit that's willing to invest, but, all the royalties or all the creative work goes, away from the artist. So no, I do emphasize freedom within music, freedom internally and externally. So trying to look for it, or if it's not present in terms of, I don't know, I went too far with this question.
That's alright. Feel free. Sorry. So like, when people like sit down and listen to your music, what do you want them to feel? Is it like your music kind of takes them on a journey where it's like, okay, look, this is me, and what you're listening to is a journey of some sort, maybe my life, or so it's like they're kind of listening to what you've been through, or is it like you just want them to feel like whatever you want them to feel? Like,
that is more like the B option.
Yeah,
it's always like trying to make everything abstract enough, like guide them, via melody and lyrical content, just so for them it's just the mirror to see their own, either it's issues that are being talked about, or it's, anxieties, or it's happiness, or it's joy, just to have their personal. So my kind of output is quite impersonal, just so the reaction is personal.
Yeah.
Because if I just say, if I just brag about myself, some people might not have, that 0.1 part of information that matches, and then suddenly it's just. So then again, like, I don't think music is ever really that, like, fixed in place as what it makes people feel. Like, one day, the same track can make you feel happy, then the other day can annoy you. So I understand that with the same, my music doesn't escape that kind of meter.
So in a sense, like, you feel like your music kind of makes people feel a sense of happiness. Like, when they listen to it, it's like they may be going through a certain situation, but it's like when they listen to maybe a certain song from you, it's like, okay, you know what, I feel a bit uplifted now. I can tackle the situation I'm going through. Yeah,
that's true. Actually, like, that's quite often what kind of feedback I got. Yeah. What it wasn't the feedback of like, oh my God, necessarily, oh, it was such a party, but it's like, what it made me feel, and then people. Yeah. So it does seem to have a healing property in terms of the people suddenly directed to their own experience, and that keeps me humble, I suppose, rather than overwhelmed with some sort of, it's nice when people scientifically approach in a way that they quickly analyze themselves and what they felt out of it, and a lot of people, I always intend people to feel uplifted no matter the situation they live in. So even if I'm singing about a rough period in my life, I never remove the sarcasm or the irony of, you know, this cosmic joke that we're all in. You know, the seriousness is the most serious disease in the world. It seems so.
You have a nice way of looking at things. I couldn't help but notice that. But so like, would you say that kind of motivates you, like, to keep on making the music? Because the response you're getting, the feedback you're getting from people listening to you, does that motivate you to keep on going, or is it just like a thing where it's like that it helps, but I'm still gonna keep on making music because it helps me?
People, in my case, definitely are a very big aspect of everything. Because I don't know, as a you can approach, you know, I could analyze this astrologically or try to find symbols why, you know, this and the other. But like, I always felt that other people's motivation, it might not seem big for themselves sometimes, but for me, it's so big that like I take that on board and then I give it back through music, and then quite often people go like, "Wow, your tune made me feel better." But in the first place, quite often that person helped me, like in a very, you know, just a good word sometimes or a tap on the back kind of thing. I know I always seek the kind of the Aquarian approach of connecting, you know, in the age of internet, being with everyone, not having any racial or religious dogmas that keep us in some sort of fear of one another. So yeah, hell yeah, definitely people are one of the biggest motivations, because I think art is when it's perceived, and you know, if it's just for myself, it's cool, but then it kind of caves in on itself. It needs to be sent out. You know, you get the feedback, and you sometimes get kind of, you know, you experience vicariously your own music through others when you see them dance and move, and it's just automatic feedback straight away. So performance being the kind of the epiphany, the peak of this whole thing.
Okay. So like, describe to us like your process when you're making music, like, because I feel like everyone has like a different way they go about
things. That's the beauty, isn't it?
Describe to us like your process, like when you make music, what do you do?
Most of the times, I mean, unless I'm jamming with someone else and we're generating something together, but if it's on my own, I really try to just contain myself alone for a certain period of time and slowly just observe the sensations that I'm having. And then usually there are very joy-based sensations. You know, if I don't feel it, I don't write. You know, if I don't feel the joy that, oh yeah, this is gonna be contributing in some form or another to the society, you know, whichever way I perceive society. I mean, other human beings, let's say, not the social construct itself, but like, so yeah, it would be kind of going internal and finding the happiness within whatever I'm dealing with, and then kind of alchemical process of, you know, there's separation that happens, I suppose. Then there's the togetherness, which I explore within the lyrics and the harmony, because you know, any chord usually has a reference to a person you ever met or a person that taught you the chord, or if it's not a chord, if it's electronic sound, it's, you know, I mean, if it's not a guitar chord, it's just like any other expression, you know. So there's like these like little invisible strings between everything you use to create. It comes from somewhere or someone, you know. So there's always roots for everything. So just, you know, being, I suppose, putting myself in a subtle state of meditation would be the beginning of the creative process, and then just purging it out, you know, whichever form it comes out. If it first means like making a little beat, laying a few bass parts, and then putting a vocal line that makes me feel excited, and then just dance with it for a while. And quite often nowadays I approach like, you know, I work here on the music, and I usually have no chairs, because I notice if I sit down and make music, I kind of, you know, I slow down with the tempo, and I kind of, so I try to,
it's like you're more relaxed with it.
Yeah, and I don't want to be. I want to be upbeat. Even if it's a ballad, I want to give, you know, the positive sensation of warrior energy, not warrior who just randomly kills people, but is disciplined. You know, so that aspect of a warrior. So I suppose if I won't be able to dance to my music, like how would I expect other people to dance or move or groove? So I just straight away put myself in the observer and the listener as soon as I have little chunks here and there. And then I don't know, allow allow substances of many kinds to enter my existence, and then I go with it. It's a very hidden answer.
It's alright. So this is where we start opening the can of worms. So like, describe your musical journey for us.
Wow. It started really early. I mean, the very beginning of. I mean, I was raised in a family of a music teacher and a painter, artist, architect. So it's a perfect combination of visual arts and geometry and the teaching of sound, you know. So, and when I went to first grade in the regular school, I just didn't fit in at first, like, 'cause my parents were kind of hippie artists, like, you know, arty family. And they were like, well, maybe just go to music school for the first year, and then next year you're starting. So, like, yeah, from I was like 6 or something, like, I started going to music school. So to me, that was, you know, that was the norm. Like, that everyone plays an instrument and everyone sings and everyone's like.
How long was you there for?
For 11 years.
Wow.
So I've done, you know, both schools at the same time. So, you know, morning would be the normal school, evening would be the music school. I wouldn't say that, you know, I'm some academic child that was like, had no childhood. I had enough, like, you know, my parents never put any boundaries in terms of freedom, I suppose, to do things. Just the only thing they always told me is be aware. So it's the only way I always also approached music. It doesn't matter what I do, as long as I'm aware of it, it seems to connect in the right places. And yeah, then the journey, you know, like, because I'm originally from Lithuania, so that's where I started the whole musical path. And yeah, I started a lot as a session musician because I always knew I want to sing, but I didn't want to study singing. I didn't want the voice to be formed by academia or, you know, other egos. And I was like, no, I'll just learn instruments as much as I can.
Your own sound.
Yeah, so I graduated piano and classical guitar, and then went to conservatory, which is like a, you know, music college, and then that was like the Hogwarts of my music studying, because it was amazing. Like, no one cared about the normal class things, as long as you played music and you gigged and you toured around, you know, with a class or other musicians, you know, you were considered the good student. So that was like one of the most beautiful memories, because there was a lot of mind-altering substances and a lot of amazing influences. That's where I started playing a lot of jazz bass for bebop and swing bands, and then at the same time I always had my singing solo stuff, and then started open mics there, and then got into TV in Lithuania, done a lot of tours there, made, you know, fair amount of money for a 18-year-old at that point. And then me and my drummer just decided to drop everything and walk the earth, or at least start that. So we basically just sold all of our gear and just took a first bus to Spain after, I know, a couple of days on the bus, rotting in your own juices on the bus. We got out of the bus with all of our gear, you know, acoustic guitar, djembe, computer, a few pairs of shoes and some food, and then just started walking around, living under bridges, playing in the streets. And then we missed electricity again, like it's you know, it's a couple of weeks passed. We're like, yeah, that's it. Yeah, we wanna produce. We wanna get, you know, develop, expand. So we went to Amsterdam. So we done our fair share of lingering around there for a while, and then came to London, because that was, I mean, I always had the West calling, you know.
Yeah.
Either was the dream to move to America, and at some point I'll probably tour there, because I would like to just, you know, just travel with the music. So at the moment, for the past 5-6 years, it's been London, and I love the city. It feels like home anyway.
Oh, okay. So when it comes to your musical journey, would you say, like, so far you're like in the middle of it? So you like you said, you've got intentions of moving to America, isn't it, to a couple shows there? So right now in your journey, where would you say that you are roughly?
Oh, middle somehow indicates that I have half of what I've done left, so I don't want to say middle.
Okay.
I'll say then a quarter, and I'll always keep saying a quarter then. So I always have a bit more left.
Yeah.
You know, just to manifest a beautiful, smooth journey. It is not always smooth though. Yeah. But perception of it seems to remain smooth, so that's pretty good.